I thought my mission was over. The alien queen had other desires. Distant horizons, the translucent spires of Novolith glowed azure against the twin sunset as Dr. Alara Vance collected the final samples for her research. 3 months on this crystalline world had yielded remarkable discoveries about alien biochemistry, potentially revolutionizing medicine back on Earth. Her mission was complete, and the transport vessel would arrive within hours. Final specimen catalogued, Ilara murmured. Securing the luminescent flora in her containment unit, she brushed copper-colored hair from her face, her green eyes reflecting the planet's distinctive light. As a leading xenobiologist for the Interstellar Science Coalition, she had visited 18 exoplanets, but none as mesmerizing as Novolith. Ilara packed her equipment methodically, trying to ignore the peculiar emptiness forming in her chest. Each world left its mark, but departing this one felt different. Perhaps it was the harmonious way the crystalline structures seemed to resonate with her thoughts, or how the air carried whispers of secrets just beyond human comprehension. A soft chime from her communication device interrupted her reverie. Transport delayed by solar flare activity. Estimated arrival 48 hours. Sighing, Ilara returned to her temporary research station, a dome of reinforced polymers nestled among iridescent rock formations. As night fell, she reviewed her findings, fingers dancing across holographic displays filled with analyses of Novolithian cellular structures. The gentle hum of approaching vehicles drew her attention. Strange, no human settlements existed in this sector. Cautiously, she activated the perimeter sensors. 3 elegant vessels descended, their design unlike Earth's utilitarian crafts. They resembled liquid mercury formed into perfect curves, landing without disturbing a single crystal. Ilara's heart raced. The Novolithians had kept their distance during her expedition, observing but never approaching. First contact protocols flashed through her mind as the central vessel's hull rippled open. A figure emerged, tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like opal under starlight. His features were startlingly humanoid yet unmistakably alien. High cheekbones, a straight nose, and eyes like swirling nebulae. He moved with fluid precision, dressed in fabrics that seemed to capture and release light with each step. Dr. Alara Vance, he spoke, his voice resonant with unexpected warmth. I am Prince Thalion, guardian of the Northern Hemisphere. Ilara stepped forward, maintaining professional composure despite her racing pulse. Your Highness, this is unexpected. My research permit is valid and respected, he completed. I come not to challenge your presence, but to extend an invitation. Your work has been observed with great interest. He gestured toward the crystal city gleaming on the horizon. Your departure approaches, yet you've barely glimpsed our world's true nature. Would you honor us by accepting our hospitality until your transport arrives? Something in his gaze held more than diplomatic courtesy, a curious intensity that sent an unexpected shiver through her. Science demanded objectivity, yet Ilara couldn't deny the pull of discovery, and perhaps something more primal stirring beneath her researcher's discipline. I would be honored, she answered, surprised by the eagerness in her own voice. Little did she know that crossing the threshold into his vessel would forever alter the trajectory of 2 worlds. The alien courtship Prince Thalion's vessel glided silently toward the crystalline metropolis of Nova Lumina. Inside, Ilara struggled to maintain her scientific detachment as they passed through a series of atmospheric barriers that rippled like liquid starlight. Our city exists in harmonic resonance with Novalith's natural frequencies, Thalion explained, his nebula-like eyes watching her reactions carefully. What your instruments detected as simple crystalline formations are actually living architecture. The vessel descended into an enormous structure resembling a blooming lotus made of translucent crystal. As they disembarked, Ilara gasped. Novolithians moved gracefully through suspended walkways, their opalescent skin glimmering under soft ambient light. The air itself seemed to carry music, subtle vibrations that felt both foreign and strangely comforting. Your research focused on our planet's biological components, Thalion said, guiding her through chambers that shifted and reconfigured as they walked. But you've been studying fragments rather than the whole. He led her to a balcony overlooking a vast garden, where crystal formations grew in impossible patterns, changing colors with the movements of nearby Novolithians. We exist in symbiosis with our world. The crystals you've been analyzing are extensions of a planetary consciousness. Ilara's scientific mind raced with questions. That would explain the anomalous energy signatures in my readings. But how? Tomorrow, he interrupted gently. Tonight is for welcoming, not interrogation. At a grand reception hall, Novalithian dignitaries regarded Ilara with curious intensity. She felt simultaneously honored and exposed as Thalion introduced her as the human who sees beyond surfaces. A female Novalithian approached, her features delicate yet commanding. I am Lysara, royal scientist. Your research methods are unconventional but intriguing. High praise coming from a civilization thousands of years ahead of ours, Ilara replied. Different, not necessarily ahead, Lysara corrected. Thalion rarely takes personal interest in off-world visitors. Your presence here is unprecedented. Before Ilara could respond, atmospheric tones shifted, signaling the feast's beginning. The food defied categorization. Flavors that transformed with each bite, beverages that seemed to anticipate her thirst. Later, Thalion escorted her to guest quarters within the palace spire, a chamber whose walls responded to her thoughts, displaying constellations familiar to Earth. You've adapted this room for me, she observed. We wished you comfortable, he acknowledged, though I sense you prefer novelty to comfort. Their eyes met and something electric passed between them. His proximity awakened sensations that transcended simple attraction. Was it pheromones, psychic influence, or something entirely human? The intoxication of the unfamiliar. Your transport arrives tomorrow evening, Thalion said, his voice lower. Until then, I hope to show you what your instruments cannot measure. His fingers brushed hers, the first physical contact between them. The sensation was like touching warm silk electrified by gentle current. Ilara felt her pulse quicken as he stepped away. Rest well, Ilara of Earth, he said, leaving her with thoughts far from scientific inquiry. Morning brought exploration beyond her wildest expectations. Thalion guided her through crystal caverns where light itself seemed alive, markets trading in concepts rather than goods, and educational centers where Novalithian children learned by merging temporarily with the living architecture. With each revelation, Ilara noticed Thalion watching her, not for approval but for connection. His explanations became less formal, his movements closer. By afternoon, when they paused at a precipice overlooking crystalline oceans, something unspoken had developed between scientist and prince. Your species values knowledge, he observed. Mine values resonance. Both seek harmony with the universe through different paths. As his hand found hers again, Ilara wondered which path she was following now. Forbidden connection. Ilara's communication device chimed insistently, shattering the moment. The message from Earth was terse. Mission parameters compromised. Diplomatic tensions escalating. Return immediately upon transport arrival. Thalion's expression remained neutral, but the crystals surrounding them darkened subtly. Your people fear what they don't understand, he said quietly. What's happening? Ilara demanded, scientist and diplomat now competing for priority. He guided her to a secluded chamber deep within the palace, a spherical room where three-dimensional projections displayed interstellar communications. Earth's military vessels had increased presence in nearby sectors, citing security concerns following unauthorized data transmission. They detected our communication networks, Thalion explained. Your coalition leadership interpreted our energy signatures as weapons development. Ilara felt sick. Her research, her presence, had triggered this misunderstanding. I need to contact them, explain. The crystalline resonance interferes with direct transmissions, he said. Only your return transport has proper calibration. Hours before departure, Ilara found herself torn between worlds. Scientifically, Novalith represented discoveries beyond imagination. Diplomatically, she needed to prevent potential conflict. Personally, she found Thalion in the palace gardens, communing with crystal formations that responded to his touch like sentient beings. I've arranged full access to our biological archives, he said without turning. Data to verify our peaceful intentions. Thank you, she replied, approaching slowly. But why? Your council clearly objects to sharing technology with humans. He turned, the distance between them suddenly insufficient for clear thought. The council sees categories, Novalithian, human. I see resonance patterns. Yours harmonizes with mine. The admission hung between them, impossible yet undeniable. She was a scientist, trained to observe objectively, but the warmth spreading through her had nothing to do with xenobiology. "This is unprecedented," she whispered. "Contact protocols explicitly forbid connection?" His fingers traced the air near her face, not touching but close enough that she felt that strange electric current. "Some forces transcend diplomatic restrictions, Dr. Vance." "Ilara," she corrected automatically, her voice barely audible. Something changed in his expression, restraint giving way to decision. His hand finally made contact with her cheek, and the sensation overwhelmed her scientific detachment. The touch transmitted emotions directly, his fascination, respect, desire all flowing into her consciousness. "Our species communicate beyond words," he murmured, drawing closer. "Would you experience true Novolithian connection?" Her answer came not in words but action as she closed the final distance between them. Their lips met, sending cascades of sensation unlike any human kiss. Colors bloomed behind her closed eyelids, memories and emotions intertwining. His arms encircled her, strong yet gentle, as the kiss deepened into something that transcended physical attraction. The garden crystals around them pulsed with responsive light, creating a private aurora that enveloped them. For precious moments, the impending diplomatic crisis faded against the reality of their connection, alien and human finding unexpected resonance. When they finally separated, Ilara's scientific mind struggled to categorize what had transpired. This wasn't just biochemistry or pheromones. Something fundamental had shifted in her understanding of interspecies connection. "My transport arrives in 3 hours," she said, the words heavy with implication. "Then we have 3 hours," Thalion replied, "to determine whether your departure is truly necessary." The crystalline city shimmered beyond the garden, beautiful and alien, while Earth's expectations pulled from the stars above. Caught between worlds, Ilara made her choice. Celestial choice. The transport vessel hovered above Nova Lumina, its utilitarian design stark against the crystalline elegance below. Ilara stood in the royal launching bay, her research samples and equipment packed, plus one crucial addition: a data crystal containing Novolithian biological archives. "This evidence should convince Earth that Novolith poses no threat," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "The resonance patterns your people use for communication are entirely distinct from weapon signatures." Thalion nodded, maintaining formal distance before the royal guards and Earth's automated transport. "And if they refuse to understand?" It was the question that had kept her awake through the night, after their moment in the garden had evolved into hours of increasingly intimate connection. Their bodies had found harmony despite biological differences, their minds merging in ways that defied scientific classification. What had begun as diplomatic courtesy had transformed into something profound, something she couldn't name without feeling vulnerable. "I have influence with the Coalition Science Council," she replied. "They'll listen." A subtle shift in the crystal architecture around them betrayed Thalion's skepticism. During their night together, she'd learned to read these environmental cues, extensions of his emotional state. The transport's final boarding call echoed through the chamber. Protocols demanded her return. Duty called her home, yet every cell in her body resisted the separation. "There is another option," Thalion said quietly, stepping closer. "Our council has authorized me to offer you permanent research status. You could continue your work here, serve as liaison between our worlds." Her heart leapt, but caution tempered her response. "And if Earth interprets that as defection, it could escalate tensions further." "Perhaps," he acknowledged. "Or perhaps having someone who understands both worlds is exactly what's needed." The decision crystallized before her: return as planned and fight bureaucratic battles from Earth, or remain on Novolith as something unprecedented, neither tourist nor ambassador, but something uniquely positioned between worlds. "The transport's life support is calibrated for human physiology," she said slowly. "Could a Novolithian survive the journey to Earth?" Understanding dawned in his nebula eyes. "You suggest I accompany you?" A direct representative could resolve misunderstandings immediately. Earth has never hosted Novolithian royalty. It would force them to listen. The proposal was audacious, potentially dangerous. Interstellar protocols had no provisions for such an arrangement. Yet the alternative, separation with no guarantee of resolution, seemed suddenly unbearable. Thalion turned to his royal scientist, Lysara, who had been observing quietly. "Prepare biochemical stabilizers for interstellar travel. I will represent Novalith on Earth." The declaration sent ripples of shock through the gathered officials. Lysara stepped forward, her voice low but intense. "My prince, the atmospheric differences alone are surmountable," he finished firmly. "Begin preparations immediately." As the officials dispersed to execute his orders, Thalion and Alara found themselves momentarily alone. The formal distance between them collapsed as he drew her into an embrace that resonated with both physical desire and deeper emotional currents. "This decision transcends diplomacy," he murmured against her hair. "You understand that," she did. The connection forged between them had become a bridge neither could bear to sever. What had begun as scientific curiosity had evolved into respect, desire, and something dangerously close to love. "Earth won't be easy," she warned, her fingers tracing the luminescent patterns on his skin. "Our world is chaotic, divided, suspicious of differences." His smile held both warmth and determination. "Then they shall learn from Novalith the beauty of harmonizing differences." His kiss stirred memories of their night together, the discovery of unexpected compatibilities, the way his touch had awakened sensations beyond human experience, the merging of minds that had left her forever changed. Physical intimacy had merely been the beginning. Their connection operated on levels she was still struggling to comprehend. 3 hours later, as Earth's transport departed with 2 passengers instead of 1, Ilara watched Nova Lumina recede through the viewscreen. Thalion sat beside her, his physiology sustained by Lysaran technology, his presence a radical departure from all established protocols. Ahead lay uncertainty, Earth's reaction, diplomatic complications, the unprecedented challenge of introducing Novalithian royalty to human society. Yet somehow, with her hand entwined with his, the impossible seemed suddenly within reach. The transport accelerated toward the stars, carrying not just a xenobiologist and an alien prince, but a new possibility for interstellar connection. Beyond Stars Earth's orbital station, Harmony 1 had never hosted a non-human dignitary. As the transport docked, security personnel lined the arrival bay, their expressions betraying nervous anticipation. Dr. Marcus Chen, director of the Interstellar Science Coalition, waited with forced composure as the airlock cycled open. Ilara emerged first, her confident stride belying the diplomatic storm she'd instigated. "Director Chen, may I present Prince Thalion of Novalith, guardian of the Northern Hemisphere and representative of the Crystal Sovereignty." Thalion stepped forward, his opalescent skin capturing and refracting the station's harsh lighting. Though the atmospheric adjustments were clearly uncomfortable for him, he carried himself with innate grace. "Earth extends its welcome," Chen managed, diplomatic training overcoming his shock. The following weeks became a blur of high-level meetings, scientific demonstrations, and carefully orchestrated public appearances. Thalion's presence transformed abstract interstellar tensions into a tangible reality that demanded resolution. Military officials who had argued for preemptive measures found themselves face-to-face with the threat they had hypothesized, a being whose technological understanding exceeded their own, yet who spoke of harmony rather than dominance. Alara worked tirelessly, translating not just language but cultural context between species. By day, she presented evidence from Novalith's biological archives, demonstrating the peaceful applications of crystalline technology. By night, she and Thalion continued their more personal exploration of human Novalithian connection, their intimacy deepening despite the pressures surrounding them.
"Your people fear what we might become together," Thalion observed one evening in their private quarters, his fingers tracing patterns along her bare shoulder that left trails of luminescent energy.
"Not what we might do to them, but how we might change them." Ilara nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Their relationship had become symbolic, proof that profound differences could be bridged, that connection could transcend biological barriers. For some, this represented hope. For others, it threatened the comfortable categorizations that defined their worldview. "Change is never easy," she replied, drawing him closer, savoring the now familiar electric sensation of his skin against hers. Their bodies had learned each other's rhythms, discovering unexpected complementarity despite their different evolutionary paths. But it's necessary. The Coalition Council's final decision came 3 months after their arrival. official recognition of Novalith as a sovereign entity, establishment of permanent diplomatic channels, and, most significantly, approval for a joint scientific exchange program. As the architects of this unprecedented alliance, Ilara and Thalion were appointed as co-directors, tasked with selecting the first human scientists to study on Novalith and the first Novalithians to explore Earth. Their personal relationship, once the subject of whispered speculation, became tacitly accepted as the foundation of interstellar cooperation. On the eve of their return journey to Novalith, they stood together in Harmony 1's observation dome, Earth's blue expanse visible below, while distant stars beckoned above. "When I landed on your world," Ilara said, "I thought I understood what discovery meant, cataloging differences, analyzing patterns, expanding knowledge." Thalion's arms encircled her from behind, his body now familiar yet still wonderfully alien. And now, she turned within his embrace, meeting the swirling nebulae of his eyes. "Now I understand that true discovery happens when differences connect rather than divide, when the unknown becomes not just understood, but cherished." His response came first as sensation, the unique Novalithian connection that allowed emotions to flow directly between them, followed by words that bridged their worlds. "On Novalith, we have no word for love as humans conceive it. We speak instead of resonance patterns that harmonize across time and space." "And do we resonate?" she asked, already knowing the answer but needing to hear it articulated. His lips found hers in the human gesture they'd both come to treasure. "Beyond stars, beyond species, beyond all rational expectation? Yes, Ilara of Earth, we resonate in patterns that will echo across galaxies." As their kiss deepened, neither noticed the subtle crystalline growth beginning along the observation dome's edge, the first manifestation of Novalithian architecture responding to their connection, a living symbol of transformation beginning. Just as they had changed each other, so too would their worlds change, harmonizing differences into something entirely new. Their mission had evolved far beyond scientific research or diplomatic negotiation. They had become pioneers of a different kind, explorers not just of alien worlds but of the infinite possibilities that exist when barriers between worlds dissolve. The transport to Novalith would depart at dawn, carrying them back to the crystalline planet where their journey began. But now they traveled not as visitor and host, researcher and subject, human and alien, but as partners in the greatest discovery of all, that love, by any name, transcends the stars themselves.